Welcome to the Roll Call Podcast. I am Joe Aguirre along with JJ Vargas and Lucas Baldock. Guys, the Yankees are not playing good baseball right now, obviously. 2-8 on the year against the Rays, and not going to see them again unless it comes postseason time. 18-7 versus all other teams, but a lot of those 18 are against the Red Sox. Yankees have hit 19 D-Rays, Tampa Bay Rays over the last 2 years. 19. So, obviously, tensions were pretty hot. We know the suspensions. We'll get into that and talk about that. But here's the most pressing issue right now. Since August 18th, the Yankees have a team batting average of 202. That ranks 29th in all of baseball. A 301 on-base percentage and a 368 slugging percentage. That's 26th and 22nd. Their overall team WAR is a 0.2. It's 26th in the league. And runs created right now, 80. It's a plus 81, which is 25th in the league. Okay? Massive drop-off. If you look at the OPS difference in some key players from this year to last year, Mike Ford, the worst of them all, with a negative 64. Gary Sanchez, Gleyber Torres, Mike Tauchman, Brett Gardner, all negative 40 at least. Clint Frazier and Luke Voigt lead the way as far as overperforming Yankees this season. Now, here's the other big thing about the Yankees and these struggles, which started in August and have really now rolled into September. Their ERA from the bullpen, a 5.61 since August 9th. You're talking about almost a month. That's 24th in baseball. Silver lining, the starters are actually pitching to a 3.46, which is the fifth best in baseball since August 9th. Now, it seems like you should be hitting the panic mode, and maybe you two guys are. I sense it a little bit. That's fine. I will tell you this. Through 34 games last year, the Yankees had the exact same record, 20-14. Of course, went on to having a pretty good year. So I understand people are upset.
Joe. There's a difference here, Joe, because you say that and that's fine, but we're talking about a 60-game season. It's definitely heightened sense of urgency. You know, at this point of the 60-game season, we could be in a better position, and currently right now we're behind Tampa Bay by a sizable amount. That's not a position the Yankees want to be in. And sure, we're still a playoff team, but, we were in firm control of this division at one point, and we've lost it really bad to Tampa Bay. They are whooping our asses the last few series. And that's just as simple as it can be. They're really, we mentioned how they're really built to beat us, and they're displaying that. Granted, we have guys hurt and we're not at full power, but, games are being played and we're losing them.
Yeah, so my main concern, not just with the Rays, but with the rest of the teams, because obviously we haven't been playing well at all. We finished, I think, 2-10 or 2-8 against the Rays on the season.
Yep.
And that's not good. We should have beat them more than 2 times. But another concern I have overall is with the lack of offense we've produced with the bullpen giving up as much runs as they do. I know big hitters like Judge and Stanton and Torres are out, but I still think we have enough, not star power, but enough MLB caliber players in the lineup to create some runs and support our poor pitching. And that's another thing I wanted to mention was Garrett Cole has had a few sloppy starts in a row. I think he's given up a home run in 7 or 8 straight starts.
8 straight, most in Yankee history. No one's ever done that to start their Yankee career before.
Yeah, that's insane to me. And, it wouldn't be a big deal if maybe it was just, a solo home run every start. But they're starting to be 2 or 3 home runs a game, or either a 3-run home run or a 2-run home run, which those hurt when our offense isn't producing.
All right. Now, let's be fair, though. Tampa Bay's good. It's a good team. They've spent a lot of time building that franchise up. It's not the old Tampa Bay Devil Rays. The Tampa Rays are a good team. And they've got good pitching. And as Kevin Cash said when he threatened to have the Yankees destroyed, he's got a stable of guys that throw 98 miles per hour. So we know that's a good team. The Yankees have been banged up. They haven't had the bullpen just hasn't done well, and it has cost the Yankees a lot of games. And I think you combine all of those things, you're going to have a rough stretch. They're 20-14 though. I mean, they're still 6 games over 500. They only had a high point this year of 10 games over, so they're still in really good shape. And I understand it's a short season, and I understand the sense of urgency. But here's the sense of urgency: Aaron Judge will be back, and Giancarlo Stanton will be back. You just got DJ back, already paying dividends. Voit has been super hot. If Clint Frazier needs to start playing every day, I mean that's and he needs to be hitting third, fourth. He needs to be right up in there. And once you get all these guys back and healthy and whatnot, as long as the Yankees are within striking distance, they've got a good enough team here that they'll match up with anybody. I feel like that's true. We also saw Jay Happ with a turnaround, had a great start against the Mets, 7 shutout innings. I'm shocked Boone didn't run him out for the 8th just to ruin it, but I'm joking. I love Aaron Boone. He has been showing a propensity lately of maybe sticking with these guys too long, but you got to feel good about Jay Happ. A 0.77 earned run average in his last 2 starts. There's a lot to like about, and of course, Davy Garcia. Everybody wanted to trade 2 years ago, and then last year everybody was an expert and wanted him on the major league team. Well, he's here now. The Yankees played it right. This kid's outstanding, JJ.
Yeah, he's good, and his debut in the major leagues was phenomenal. He went up there, only 1 hit allowed throughout the whole game. And, he definitely received some love from the group of guys, too, when he finally went back into the dugout. They seem to embrace him, and he seems like he's going to be a Yankee, at least for the time being. But, I want to get to a point you said earlier where, the bullpen has been struggling. Let's not forget that Zach Britton's been out, and they did lose Tommy Kahnle for the whole season. So they are missing some key puzzle pieces to that bullpen that makes it so successful.
Yeah, I think the bullpen will obviously turn it around once we get Britton back. I think he might actually already be back. But I wanted to make a point, Joe, on what you had said earlier about Clint Frazier having to play every day. If you read the last article I put out on the Clovercrest, I wrote about how the Yankees have 6 starting quality outfielders, and I went through everyone, did their strong and weak points, and in the end, I would choose Clint Frazier to play every day. And keep in mind, I fantasized Judge and Stanton both being healthy, and Clint Frazier still being in the lineup. So I think even at full force, Clint Frazier should be in the Yankees lineup every single day.
Yeah, I mean, for certain. I think this team needs to play the younger, healthier guys. I mean, look at Luke Voit, look at Frazier. I mean, these guys are in great shape. It's when they can run them out there every single day.
I think
you need to work these other dudes in and out, JJ. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and I look at Clint Frazier and how he's performed so far, and he's really putting Aaron Boone in a tough decision of whether he's going to want to bring back Giancarlo back on the field and at the plate, because he's performing, and I think he's caught all of us by surprise, and a pleasant surprise, because we all knew that he's good and he's young, but just has had trouble staying consistent, and he's showing right now that he has worked on those mechanics, and like I said, putting Boone in a position where he's going to have to make a tough decision whether he's going to send Clint down and bring one of the guys back or keep Clint in this lineup, because honestly, it's working a little now.
Yeah, I'm glad you're showing that picture, Joe, because I was just going to bring up the fact that he's also made strides defensively. Not only has he been a stud in the lineup, but he's been making plays that we don't usually see him make in the outfield. He had an amazing diving catch the other day. He dove into the gap and stopped the ball from going to the wall and held a player to a single. And he's just doing things out there that, we've all wanted to see for a long time. So I'd hate to see him just sit down in the minor league camp and just practice and practice and practice because he's been doing that for years, and it shows when he comes up to the Yankees because the kid's a
Mm-hmm.
stud. He deserves to be on the major league roster every single day, and I'll keep saying that.
And you usually don't get a nickname, for no reason. He does go by the Red Thunder, and he shows it when he's out there. He doesn't have monstrous size, but his impact is very, 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 very felt.
Yeah, so I think it's important for them to start. Really, I think you got to take these older veteran players when they do get back. And I guess what I'm saying is specifically Giancarlo Stanton. I know the Yankees want to run him out into the outfield, and I get all that, and I certainly appreciate it. But you got guys like Mike Talkman and Frazier. Again, guys that are out there every single day. It's unfortunate Aaron Hicks is so frail because when he's in, the batting average is awful this year, but. Big home run against the Mets the other night. I called it. I then told everybody that I did because I did. I was in my car. John Sterling had the call. I've just had it felt it in my veins. And funny story, the last 3 times now that the Yankees have been down to their final out and have won a game via home run, it has been Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks definitely comes up big in those big moments. And, again, I understand the knock on him is he can't stay healthy. But, man, when he does, that is an outstanding baseball player. And it's such a shame.
Yeah, Aaron Hicks is Oh, no, go ahead, JJ.
No, please finish your point.
I was gonna say, when Aaron Hicks is healthy, he has that clutch gene, like you said, Joe. He knows how to approach the plate when the team needs runs. He's had those hits throughout his time with the Yankees, and not only is he a good hitter in the clutch, he's also a very good defender, as you see in our intro when Hicks makes that catch in a 14-12 game with the bases loaded to win the game. So he's a clutch player, and he deserves a spot on the Yankees as long as he's healthy, and that's the only thing, he has to stay healthy.
Yeah, you were mentioning late game situations, big hits, big home runs, and big moments to win games. Your guy Gary Sanchez takes a lot of crap, Joe, but the other night in extra innings, bases loaded, grand slam time. Yeah, and I know it was definitely a sight for sore eyes for a lot of Yankee fans. I really want Gary to do well and see him struggle, and to see him come through in a big moment like that, it's definitely a feel-good moment for all of us.
To see Aaron Boone celebrate in the dugout after that home run, you would have thought Aaron Boone was the one that hit it. I mean, talk about feeling for one of your guys who just needed a huge hit, man. I'll tell you, got every bit of that, and he needed every bit of it because he's certainly still struggling. He's hitting about $130 right now. But look, if he's going to keep hitting bombs, and if this pitching staff can get it back together, I think everything's going to be all right. Garrett Cole has a 3.34 ERA against teams that are not the Tampa Bay Rays. His ERA against the Rays is a 4.96.
Oof.
He's the first pitcher in Yankee history with 3 straight games with 7 strikeouts or more and 2 more or more home runs. He has allowed 12 home runs on the year, tied with Ross Stripling for the most in Major League Baseball. Stripling just got moved at the deadline to Toronto, so Toronto's looking like they're getting ready to make a move. Cole has now gone 8 straight starts, allowing a home run. As Lucas mentioned earlier, that's the longest streak in history to begin a career as a Yankee. At home, Garrett Cole is pitching to a 1.83 ERA, a 0.86 whip, 22 Ks, 2 walks. That's in 3 starts, 4 road starts. It's a 5.06 with a 1.03 whip, a 5.06 ERA, 31 Ks, and 6 walks. Garrett Cole definitely prefers the home cooking. We talked about it a little bit earlier. The long ball's got to go. He's got to cut down on that. I wrote an article last year when Garrett Cole was on the Astros, and my argument was Garrett Cole's not that great unless he signs with the Yankees, and then I'm willing to do everything. But look, He does give up a lot of home runs, and he was very fortunate last year, JJ, that most of the home runs that he gave up were solo shots.
A lot of solos.
This year, it's been kind of different, and there's also been the multi-homer games that's actually killing him.
Yeah.
I tend not to worry about Garrett Cole because I know that he's going to be fine in the long run. A lot of Yankee fans are panicking. He lost the last couple of games. Let's just take a moment, relax, and just know he won 4 in a row before that. So take a breather, guys. It's okay. He'll bounce back. But in the middle of the season where we're going through a lot of injuries, we do look at Garrett Cole as our star and hope and want him to win every game that he starts. And unfortunately, we just haven't had the firepower to really back him up right now. It kind of reminds me of the Jacob deGrom scenario, where he pitches lights out, but the guys are only giving him a run or two and not enough to give him a W to go with the performance. So, the home runs, I think, will get under control with Cole, but we really just need to make sure that we bring the bats whenever we know he's out there because he's going to give it all he got. He shows that passion every time he's on the mound. Like when he got yanked out and he wasn't really happy about it, he's a competitor. He wants to play hard. So the offense has to try to match his intensity so they can continue the winning games.
Yeah, you bring up the intensity, JJ. That's a good point. One of the reasons he gives up so much home runs is because he just pounds the zone. He attacks so hard. No matter who you are, you could be Jackie Bradley, who we know is not a great hitter, so obviously he's going to want to attack him in the zone. But he'll do the same thing to JD Martinez or Xander Bogaerts, who are better power hitters and better hitters overall than JBJ. He has no fear, I guess you could say, and that could play a part in him giving up home runs. But I guess it's good he has one style. He attacks the zone. He just has to try to do that without giving up the long ball, which I understand is more difficult and more easier said than done. But he's got to find a way to cut down the long ball.
Yeah, and before I hand it over to you, Joe, to what you said about how he's fearless, I'll take that 10 out of 10 any day because you want a guy like that that's fearless. And you know what? He's proven throughout this league that he can beat a lot of the best hitters in this league. So I'm glad that his confidence is at an all-time high in that sense because that's what you want out of your star ace, that he feels like he can get it done. You don't want a guy that's passive on the mound. No, you want aggressive. And sometimes you get hit hard, and sometimes you get that nice strikeout. So to Garrett Cole, stay fearless, my man.
Yeah, all right. Now, got to talk about Davy Garcia because, my God, again, we heard all the hype. And look, typically speaking, Yankee prospects that come with a lot of hype, Phil Hughes, don't ever end up being – they haven't been good since Andy Pettitte, unfortunately. Became the first pitcher in Yankee history with 6+ innings, no runs, no walks, and 5 Ks in his major league debut. I mean, the first guy in the richest, longest history of the greatest franchise in sports. You got to feel really good about that. The poise that kid had on the mound. In a game, the Yankees, I'll tell you what, Yankees needed to win that game really bad.
Really bad.
Just absolutely stepped up and pitched such a great game. And just, again, for 20, just so in control of everything he was doing. And then here's the other guy, Estevan Florial. Struck out in his first at-bat. He did get a hit later in the game. This is another guy, we've been hearing hype for years about Estevan Florial. 5-tool player. He's got the great, sweet left-handed stroke, perfect for Yankee Stadium. Great defense, speed. He's got it all. It's great to see this young man finally make it up to the big leagues. To get his first hit out of the way already is really cool. I got a feeling that you're going to see a lot more of him before this year is out, and then get used to him because he's going to be out there for a long time for the New York Yankees. Another guy you could expect to see, and the guy who was passed over in favor of Davy Garcia was Clark Schmidt. I would assume he probably gets a shot sooner than later. The Yankees are, look, they got such a good young team as it is with guys like Glaber and Severino and Sanchez and Judge. You got a great young core of players, and to know that you've got this, outstanding group of young guys behind you, to know that you got one of the greatest the greatest steals in trading history in Luke Voit,
Yep.
who's turned into an absolute superstar. They're talking like MVP candidate right now for Luke Voit, and he's got the numbers to back it up.
That's well deserved, yeah.
And carrying the New York Yankees when they need it. So, I mean, I think this guy's certainly making his case for things.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked about, if I don't talk about it every week, I talk about it every other week on this show. That was one of those, I always say this, diamond in the rough trades for Brian Cashman. I mean, he's done that before, but I think this might be his best one with Luke Voit. And Voit has just, after last season, people weren't quite sure if he was built to last in New York, but he certainly showed up this year and carried us in a time of need. And he's crushing the ball at a rate that's trending towards the top of the MLB with the best hitters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Luke Voit, Mr. Big Chest himself. He's really been the muscle that this team has needed while all these injuries have really piled up, man. It's just, certain runs aren't counted the same. They don't hold the same value. Every run that the Yankees are getting right now, the value is really risen because, like I said, all the guys that you usually count on to bring you runs are hurt. And to your point, you said that Luke Voit was one of the best trades. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, go ahead, JJ. Finish up about Voit. I was just going to jump on the DJ in a minute, but finish up on Big Chest because he is the man, dude.
No, Mr. Big Chest is the best, but you're talking about for trade. Didn't we trade Chapman to get Glaber and ended up getting Chapman back?
Yeah.
Is that how that was?
That was also an amazing deal.
That was all-time finesse. So that's the only trade that I think will rival the Luke Voit trade. But yeah, definitely a nice find in Luke Voit.
I think really this Yankee team has struggled, and they've struggled with runners in scoring position. They've left a lot of guys on base. LeMahieu comes back, had the 2 home runs yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a table setter and a big-time clutch hitter, and I think 85% of the Yankees' problems right now can be resolved just by getting this guy's bat back in the lineup. That's how much of an influence I think he has. And look, I think this too. Look, you got Luke Voit playing like an MVP. We saw DJ LeMahieu playing like an MVP before he got hurt. Comes back picked up where he never left off. Had an MVP caliber year last year. You got Aaron Judge, who's always in the conversation when he's healthy. You got Giancarlo Stanton, another guy who's a former MVP winner in the National League. I mean, the Yankees, again, look at Glaber, a future MVP candidate. Gio Urshela's probably got to get it together a little bit more. Gary Sanchez obviously has to start hitting, but again, when you look at the New York Yankees and knowing none of these guys are going to be out for the season, they'll be back. This team will match up with anybody, and I think they're going to be all right. And I think this is just, they never play well in August. In a 60-game season where most of the year's August, this kills.
Hey, Joe, you remember last year before the playoffs started, we were kind of a little nervous, Yankees didn't really make any big moves. But we knew that we were getting Severino back. So that in itself was a big, acquisition, if you want to say. Definitely a difference maker for a team. Aaron Judge is scheduled to come back by the end of the season. So I feel like that's an addition that we're getting back. Just like all the guys that you mentioned, the ones that are scheduled to come back. I feel as the season gets later and later in the playoffs approach, those are guys that, as we're struggling right now, it's not too good, but at least we're over 500 enough where we could kind of tread water, if you may. So as we start getting that star power back and you get them in groove in time for the playoffs, the whoever we play in the playoffs are probably going to have to face off against some of those big guns that we've mentioned that we're missing. So teams better beware. They're probably looking at the Yankees right now as a wounded lion because we're struggling, but a wounded lion is the most dangerous lion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think pitching might still be somewhat of an issue come playoff time, but offense won't. I think we'll be crushing the ball come I don't even know when do the playoffs even start? Mid-October?
Yeah, early October.
I know. And like everyone's making it like it's basketball or something. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Right.
Aroldis Chapman given a 3-game suspension for throwing at the Rays' Mike Broussard. Aaron Boone and Kevin Cash were both suspended. They both served their sentence. They served their suspension last night. Chapman is appealing. Now, I don't like seeing guys get their heads thrown at.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a player I really don't like. I don't like seeing that. I think it's dangerous. You know, I understand Aroldis Chapman, and let's be honest, the times he could be a little wild and lose the strike zone. Up at the head, I mentioned it earlier, 19 times since 2018 the Yankees have hit a D-Ray. That can't feel good. Things
We don't
got
like him,
pretty
Joe.
intense.
We just don't like him. It's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. And look, I don't necessarily have a problem with the Yankees throwing at the Rays. I don't. I mean, I suggested I think the Yankees should have thrown at the Red Sox more in the mid-2000s. I still don't understand why that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that. I don't like that Chapman threw at his head. And, you know, here's the thing as far as was it intentional. If it's intentional, you probably don't walk towards the batter barking. As Chapman did, which is what made me think that maybe he meant it. Benches did clear. No punches were thrown. I mentioned earlier Kevin Cash suggested he's got a stable of guys that throw 98, suggesting some sort of retaliation. We haven't seen any. As a matter of fact, Ben Heller actually hit one of the Rays last night and was promptly thrown out of the game, even though it was certainly not intentional.
Yeah. But you know what, Joe? I'm calling bull jive on every suspension that I see this year because guess what? I don't see no crime committed this year so far compared to what the Astros did. So
Love it.
if they didn't get no suspensions, why the hell should any player right now get a suspension?
Yep. 100% agree with that.
I'm with you too, Ben. That's a solid point. It's something I hadn't even thought about, but yeah, I mean you're so right.
That's what I'm saying. Joe Kelly got 8 games for a guy he didn't even hit.
Right. He threw behind him.
What kind of bull jive is that?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's definitely messed up. They definitely got to get this. They got to get this all right.
Yeah.
One other thing, both Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez have now both reached the 400 games played mark in their career, and they both have 111 home runs, which is the second most all time. So congratulations
crazy
to them. Again, love to see Judge back soon and love to see the real Gary Sanchez come back.
Yes, sir.
Yankees and Rays Yankees and Mets rather just got underway. This is a makeup game from the Citibank rather. I don't know where I got Fenway from. Citi Field when they had the outbreak with the Mets, and they had to cancel that weekend series. So J Happ pitching against Robert Gesselman. Game did just get started just a few minutes ago. Tomorrow, Yanks take on Baltimore in a weird 5:05 game. Davy Garcia makes his second start. He'll face off against Alex Cobb. And on Saturday, we'll see our man Garrett Cole back, 7:35 start. They're in Baltimore against Keegan Aiken. It'll be important. That'll be a really important start for Garrett Cole because he's definitely got to get things straightened out here now.
I was going to say that could be a confidence builder for Garrett Cole for sure. He can, even if he doesn't go, I mean, I don't expect him to go the whole game. No one does that anymore these days. Even if he goes 6 or 7 innings and, like, say, he gets above double-digit strikeouts, only gives up a few hits and no runs, I think that could definitely boost his confidence.
I'm sure Garrett Cole will feel a lot more confident if he knew Gleyber Torres is going up against the Orioles. If he knew he had that guy in the lineup, he's like, "Oh, I'm taking this one."
Oh my goodness! I almost forgot about how amazing Gleyber was last year at Camden Yards.
Now, Joe, did you mention earlier that we're done playing Tampa Bay for the rest of the year?
Yes. Unless we see him in the postseason, no more scheduled games.
That's great news for us right now. It really is.
Yeah, that's amazing news because the struggles have certainly been real. Sunday, Masahiro Tanaka and Asher Wojciechowski. That's a 105 start. Then on Monday, Yankees will be up in Toronto.
Buffalo.
Buffalo,
and
yeah.
Jordan Montgomery. Oh, right, yeah, in Buffalo. I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to this weird new existence that we have. I'm trying.
How
Tuesday,
cool would it be if we could say the Yankees will be in Hartford? That would have been cool to say.
Ah, boy.
You,
I'll
you
tell
know, you know, Joe would have found a way to sneak in there.
Oh yeah.
I would have
There's
made
a window on the street. You can see right through the bullpen onto the field. So
Hey,
I would have been there.
I would have used all my connections. I'd have been on the field. Don't you worry about that. Tuesday, Yanks Toronto 6:37 start. J-Hap against their new acquisition, Tijuan Walker. Toronto picked up quite a few pitchers here at the deadline. I think they feel like they've got a shot. They also got Tanner Rourke. And who was the other? They got another bigger name too. Did they get Rob Ray? Was it Toronto? Oh, boy. How am I not going to remember that right now?
Silence. I don't know.
They
Well,
did well at the deadline. I mean, they didn't exactly go as well as say San Diego did, but they definitely
geez.
picked up a few guys. So maybe Tijuan Walker was maybe he was their big acquisition. Anyway, they've definitely made some moves, and they've definitely got better pitching. And you look at that great young lineup, and you think to yourself, boy, if they just had some pitching.
Right.
So, I think the Yankees, not only you got to be a little bit concerned about the D-Rays, now you got to start thinking about Toronto. Toronto's got some actual major league pitchers on their rotation for the first time in a while.
Yeah, they have some young talent, like talented talent. Sometimes people have prospects and they don't always pan out. They have three fielders there, three offensive players who are studs. So, and then they're building up all this pitching talent.
So I was right. Here's who they picked up. They did get Robbie Ray.
Oh, did they really?
They got Ross Stripling from the Dodgers, Tijuan Walker. You add that to Tanner Rourke. You got yourself and Hyun-Jin Ryu. You got yourself a solid five in your rotation. I mean, that's a pretty decent five.
I didn't see that they acquired Robbie Ray. That's a good trade.
I did a show earlier and I was like, oh, I knew that, and then I saw Tijuan Walker. I mean, they went out there and they made some moves. They've got a better. Not that any of those guys is like Garrett Cole or even in that ballpark, you know.
Right.
And I mean, the Yankees have talked about Robbie Ray for a couple of years. They've never pulled the trigger. They clearly don't value him that highly, and I don't think most of us do. I think, as a matter of fact, as I recall, around the trade deadline last year when his name came up, and Clint Frazier's name was getting thrown around, we were all like, no. So. Look, you know, I'm sure Brian Cashman did his due diligence. You know, you know how good he is, and I think there just wasn't anything out there. I don't think that this is, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here. Was on with Keys to the City earlier today. They think this is a make it or break it year for the Yankees, and I'm saying because of the just absurdity to life in 2020 in general. That we don't even know if this season's going to finish. I mean, we really don't. We're hopeful, and they've gotten seemingly gotten the COVID thing under control as far as testing and keeping players safe. But any day now, this thing could shut down. I don't think 2020 is really. I don't care if the Yankees don't win the World Series this year. I mean, I want them to, obviously, but I'm really thinking about a full season next year. And all these great young players and Sevy being back at some point next year, like those are the kinds of things that I'm more focused on than this weird 60-game mini. Do you even get the commissioner's trophy? Is it a different award? What are we doing? I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not 100% comfortable with it, guys.
Yeah, I don't think 2020 is make or break for any franchise and any league. Honestly, I think we're all grateful and happy that sports are just happening in general. So if we could get to the end of any season, it's a blessing in itself. And I don't think that pressure amounts on the Yankees. I think the fact that we acquired Garrett Cole really made us the biggest favorites to be champions. But when that happened, we weren't expecting a pandemic to be taking place and for teams to take full weekend delays because they're not able to play until they all test negative. These are things that just weren't accounted for. So, everybody has a pass. Whoever wins it will earn it because it's hard fought regardless of how you get there. But I don't think any big pressure really lies on the Yankees to really win it this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. One team I think it would suck though for to lose in the World Series would be the Dodgers, because that will have been, if they make it this year hypothetically and lose, um, 3 out of the last 4 World Series will have been lost by the Dodgers. So I think that's the only real kicker out of all the franchises. But still, even at that point, I think they have enough talent they can go back. So right, it's not make or break for anyone.
Is playoff Kershaw still there? Yeah. All right, then I don't really trust him very much.
That is hilarious. Um, Before we wrap things up for this episode, and we generally like to keep it all Yankees on this show, but a legendary baseball player passed away. We know him as Tom Terrific. Tom Seaver was 75 years old, and it was just the heart and soul of the Mets. He was a 5-time 20-game winner, 1967 Rookie of the Year, 311 wins in his career, 205 losses, a 2.86 ERA, struck out 3,640 with 61 shutouts. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in a then record 98.84, which Mariano Rivera, Ken Griffey Jr. broke, and then Mariano got in unanimously. Tom Seaver, ask any Met. I mean, they'll tell you. Jacob deGrom is trying to be the next Tom Seaver. Dwight Gooden wanted to be the next Tom Seaver. For me personally, Tom Seaver spent a few years as a Yankee broadcaster, just a knowledgeable guy and a really good person. But I have the ticket in my trophy case back here. August 4th of 1985, I had the pleasure of being at Yankee Stadium. It was also Phil Rizzuto Day, and a cow stepped on Phil Rizzuto and knocked him to the ground that day. But the bigger highlight was I watched Tom Seaver win his 300th game in person as a 10-year-old. And here's my favorite part of the story. It was the 9th inning, so of course Tom Seaver was still pitching because it was 85, and he's a starter. Yeah, that's when starters also finished. Anyway, we're in the 9th inning, and I stood up, started clapping, 3 outs, and Seaver gets his 300th. And I'll tell you what, it's not often you'll see Yankee fans rooting against the Yankees, but everybody in that stadium, the score was 4-1, everybody in that stadium wanted to watch Tom Terrific win his 300th game in New York City, and to do it in the cathedral of baseball was absolutely incredible. And I remember the last out was a fly ball to left field. I believe Don Baylor was the one that hit it. And we all started cheering for Tom. And I love my mother. She's an idiot. Listen, a huge, huge, huge Yankees fan. Not a baseball fan. Do you understand the difference?
Yes. Yes, I do.
My mother was pissed that people were cheering for Tom Seaver. And I said to my mother, and I believe at the time he was the 16th guy to reach 300 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to my mother, I mean, you're literally witnessing history right before your eyes. Like, come on, are you serious? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? This is I've been to no-hitters. I was at a game once where the Yankees were trailing. I think I told you guys this story. It was against the D-Rays in 2005. The Yankees were trailing in the game 10-2 in the 5th inning. I watched the Yankees have an 11-run 7th inning and go on to win the game 20-11. I saw David Wells pitch. I was at the stadium. It was my birthday. He wore the Babe Ruth cap that he bought for $5,000 or $50,000. But to me, the greatest thing I've ever experienced at Yankee Stadium, combining old and new, was to see Tom Seaver win his 300th game. Just wanted to share that for what it's worth. An amazing baseball guy. And if you know any Mets fans, Reds fans, or even White Sox fans, pat him on the shoulder. Well, maybe don't because of coronavirus, but, maybe send him a heart emoji or something, because it is it's a really sad loss for baseball.
Yeah, definitely a sad moment for the baseball family. Some people argue he's the best Met all time, which is definitely arguable. And yeah, our condolences go out to their family and loved ones, because, passing is always sad. So we feel for them. Yep.
I have a buddy who's a Mets fan, and I'm sure he'll be adding, he has this full sleeve he's starting of, he's kind of like almost done with it. It's a Mets sleeve. And he has a bunch of Mets legends on there. And I'm sure I don't know if he already does, but if he doesn't, he'll be adding Tom Seaver on there very soon. So, rest in peace to one of baseball's all-time greats.
Funny thing about that, if you were to try to make a baseball sleeve out of Yankee greats, you might need more arms.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness, right. You would need more. Yeah, dude, that is so true. So very sad. A sad loss. A sad loss for baseball, in my opinion, is a sad loss for all of us. So I just wanted to end it with that 4-1 win. A 6-hitter. As a matter of fact, I believe Steve Kemp caught the final out in left field, and he ended up on the Yankees, and was awful. You guys don't even know if you didn't live through the 80s, especially the 87, 88, after Mattingly hurt his back you don't even know.
Rough
you don't
times.
even know, boys.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's show. Make sure you visit us at clovercrestmedia.com/The Roll Call Podcast. You can find our Facebook page, The Roll Call Podcast, also on Twitter at The Roll Call Show, and we're on the Insta at The Roll Call Podcast. Hopefully you come visit us on the social media. We'd love to have you. You could also tweet at Roll Call J. JJ is always looking for some attention. So if you
I like to talk, so
talk to me. Show my friend some love, you could certainly hit him up there. Lucas has a weird Twitter that he doesn't want to share on air yet, and that's fine, Lucas. We'll talk.
Maybe I'll make a new strictly Clovercrest media account, Twitter account.
And also, make sure you check out clovercrestmedia.com. There are 26 amazing podcasts on the CMG Podcast Network. And I always tell people, if you can't find one you like, you could start your own for as little as $15 a month. clovercrestmedia.com is the website. For my buddy JJ Vargas and for Lucas Baldock, I am Joe McGuire. We'll catch you next week on the Roll Call Podcast.
Can I get a roll call? Let's get it on. Hit the field, let's play ball. Come on home, we stand tall. Oh yeah, we back. Oh yeah, we back. 2020 division, Yanks back on the train track. Had to let the chances go, but we welcome in Garrett Cole. Judge back with the guy, we're bringing Giancarlo up on these corners. Look at the information they gonna K-back awesome. Boy in the shell, they on the corners with Torres and LeManu. Sanchez don't play too. Severino in rotation, packs to throwing K's too. Fully loaded, we got the air leads wide open. One game at a time, we stay focused. Bronx Bombers on a mission. World Series chasing, taking the division. No time for wasting. Again, first placing.